Hi guys, I'm here with Kelly Sue DeConnick.
Hi guys, I'm Kelly Sue DeConnick.
So on our podcast, whenever we have guests on, we always ask, what was the first comic you read?
I don't know. I'm sorry. It bums me out. It is such a tremendous disappointment to me that I don't have that answer. But I also think half the people who do are lying, because how do you remember that? Like, seriously? That's like what was your first book? I don't know. We had books around my house. I read them. I grew up on Air Force bases, and comic books were, at least in the 1970s, a huge part of base culture. Especially, I was on base in Germany, and we didn't have American television. We had one channel on base, and I lived off base. And so the comics section at the Stars and Stripes bookstore was huge. It was as big as a lot of direct market stores, and so I used my allowance to buy comics. My mom used to reward me with comics, and I don't know what the first comic I read was.
Did you read a lot of superheroes?
Yeah, I read. So when I was a little older and I can remember better, I read Wonder Woman was my big thing, and I read Vampirella because my mom did not particularly police my reading, which is sort of hilarious now. But the Vampirella ones were like these huge digests, and they were like a bargain, And I read, what else did I read? I would read all of the DC horror anthologies, and Archie digests for the aforementioned also bargain reading.
Well, what's at the top of your stack now?
Probably sex criminals. Like, is that super biased? But it's true.
What is your favorite genre to write?
Whatever one I just finished. I always want, like whatever my least favorite is whatever I have to work on right now.
That makes sense. Where do you get your inspiration for writing?
Things that I feel I have mixed feelings about. So I think gray spaces are fertile ground for fiction. So like, the example that I always give for this is when I was working on Osborne, that came out of, I read about this prison off the coast of Seattle that housed sex offenders, and I read this incredibly salacious line about it. It was like, prison off the coast of Seattle houses 340 sexual predators, all male and one woman. And I thought, like, what did she do? And so I went searching like at Google to find out about this place, and by the way, she was a monster. But then what I read about this place was like a lot of the people who were locked up at this special containment center had completed their sentences and were still being held. And I was like, oh, hi, un-American. Like, you can't do that. That's like, and I was the one who had discovered this. I was like, does the Civil Liberties Union know about this? And like, yes, there were lots of cases, and they were using diagnoses to keep them involuntarily held, and but it was a prison, not a hospital, so it was very. But I don't live that far from Seattle, and I have two small children, so the card-carrying ACLU member in me was like, that's not right. You can't do that. And the mother of two small children in me was like, lose the key, So that became Osborne.
That's really cool.
The sex part.
So Kelly and I are Valkyries, and you're an honorary Valkyrie. Can you tell our viewers what Valkyries are?
Women who work in or own comic book stores are part of a group, if they have to fill out an application. It's very complicated procedure.
It's very formal.
Yes. And then you become a member of the Valkyries, and it is a wonderful association that helps them not only support their stores, but each other, and to help them bring new readers in. And I could not be a bigger fan. I think that the rise of the Valkyries is one of the most significant things that has happened in our industry. I would actually put it up with the return of Image. And I think you'll see mark my words, I think you'll see in a couple years just how important this group has been.
Well, and as a Valkyrie, it feels like a family now.
Yeah.
Because they are finding me at conventions and on Facebook and becoming a part of like my personal life now, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and as a creator, we market to the Valkyries, you know, and that's a shift. That's important. That is power, ladies.
It's pretty awesome. What is one character that you'd hang out with?
Who would I hang out with? Does Jamie McKelvey count? Yeah. Sure.
You are also a driving force in women in comics right now. What is something that you would say to someone that's trying to get into the comics industry?
Do the work. And I would say that whether you are whatever end of the gender spectrum you identify in with, the thing that happens, I think, is people want to make comics and they get really ahead of themselves, start borrowing trouble from the future, and talking about, you know, odds being stacked up against them when they haven't actually written a script yet. And the first thing you need to do is make comics, and that's hard. And it's hard to make your first comics because your first comics suck and nobody wants to suck. But the thing is that, can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is that when you take every idea in your head, it's perfect. When it's in your head, it's perfect. It's brilliant. Oh my God, this book is going to be amazing. And then when you take it out of your head and you put it on the piece of paper, now you have some perspective and you can see the holes and the mistakes and the problems. But you have to do that anyway. No one likes this part, but you have to do it, because if you die with a shitty book, you're a writer. If you die with a perfect idea, you are a dreamer. And despite all of the songs and poems, dreamers are a dime a dozen.
That's pretty perfect. Any upcoming projects we should look forward to in the next year?
I'm gonna be sleeping.
Sounds about right.
That's what I'm most looking forward to. Bitch Planet is, the trade is coming out October 7th. And then we're gonna take a month off so we can get a little bit more ahead. Issue 6 will come out, I believe, in December. And then hopefully we'll be ahead enough at that point that you won't have any more breaks in the single issues. And then sorry, I totally got distracted there for a second. My mind was just like, shiny things. Pretty Deadly starts up again in November. Pretty Deadly's gonna go to 4.5 volumes, and then we haven't scheduled Parisian White yet, but that's the book that I'm working on with Bill Sienkiewicz. But Bill and I are neither one of us incredibly fast, so we may just get that whole thing done before I don't know, we'll see what happens. That's the thing that's happening.
Yeah. I know we're super excited for Pretty Deadly to come back. That is one of our favorites.
If you go by my table, people at the podcast who are not here and cannot do this, if you go by my table right now, I have pages from issues 6 and 7.
At least
Don't you wish you were here, podcast listeners?
And also, where can people find more info about you?
Kelly Sue .tumblr.com. Tumblr has no E. I don't know why, because internet, I guess. And also at Kelly Sue on Twitter. Those are pretty good.
Perfect. And Espionage has great nail wraps for Bitch Planet.
Yes.
I'm rocking the non-compliant ones today. And yeah, and the leggings. I know I saw those.
From Bombsheller. Yeah.
I saw those at your table and I was like, oh no, I didn't come with a budget. But yeah, have a great convention and thanks for talking with us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.